sermon. Chag Sameach. Just a note, after my remarks, we will recite Yizkor together. And there is a family program in Halpern Hall led by Rabbi Foster and by Julie Suker, our young family coordinator. Good Yontif. Happy Passover. I hope that you're enjoying the last remnants of the holiday, that you don't have too many leftovers like we do. We all want impossible things. That is the title of a recent novel by Catherine Newman on loss, love, memory, and lasting friendship. We all want impossible things. The book explores the reality that we all experience loss, difficulty, struggle, and grief. And yet, Passover is the time when we believe not that impossible things are not available to us, but that the impossible can be possible. In Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks' words, Passover is the oldest and most transformative story of hope ever told. It is the story of the defeat of probability by the force of possibility. It defines what it is to be a Jew, a living symbol of hope, that the impossible can yet be possible. Today is the 8th day of Pesach, a continuation of the 7th day, Shvi Shel Pesach, our 2-day observance of the last days of our holiday. Only a few more hours of matzah brai and matzah brittle, of shlivovitz and fruit slices. This is the day when our ancestors stood before the seemingly impassable waters of the raging sea on their exodus from Egypt, with Pharaoh's chariots racing behind them, when all hope seemed lost. Unable to overcome despair and adversity, the impossible happened on this day. The sea split. The crossing of the sea is our formative story when we truly became a people. It forged a bond with each other and God that is unbreakable. And so much and so often we remember it in our prayers with these words, Zecher Yitziat Mitzrayim, Yizkor. We remember the Exodus, when with God's help we overcame adversity. The impossible became yet possible. When we crossed the raging seas, we marched together to a better future and to our promised land. At the Seder table, when we told our people's story, which of course is our story, after describing hardship, loss, bitterness of slavery, and 10 plagues, we paused and offered gratitude with the song, Dayenu. It would have been enough. Saying we all want the impossible, and when we look back on our ancestors' journey to freedom, our exodus, we recount 15 different ways that the impossible became possible, like manna, food straight from heaven. The rabbis teach that each day has a special quality, unique opportunity, that there's a moment literally born for the day. These last days of Pesach hold the promise for anything that is as difficult as the splitting of the sea. Today offers us the possibility and ability and potential to break through barriers, to overcome challenge, to march closer to where we are meant to go, where we belong, and where we need to arrive. Today, the impossible is indeed possible. So why in this immense day of possibility and joy, of freedom and potential, do we pause to recite Yizkor, to remember and honor those no longer with us on our journey to freedom, our march to our own promised land, our continued commitment to better our lives and our world, on a day which is filled with joyous songs of Hallel and feasts? Why do we recall those no longer with us, when all we want is the impossible, for them to still be here with us? The answer, of course, is because they are still with us, and they will always be. When we talk about impossibility and possibility, how can we not think about Eretz Yisrael, our startup nation? The last thing that we say at the Seder Lashana Haba B'Yerushalayim next year in Jerusalem centers our hearts and our focus on Israel, our homeland, our promised land, the land of impossibility, where the deserts bloom, which will be celebrating 75 incredible years in just 2 weeks of the modern state. Yes, Israel is fraught with challenge and question, but Israel is ours. But this week has been a very difficult week in Israel. The holiday of Passover has been marked by bloodshed and loss, horrific loss. First, the murder of an Italian tourist visiting to spend Easter was killed in a Tel Aviv terror attack. And then the brutal murder of the D family, mother and 2 daughters, Lucy, Maya, and Rena, aged 20 and 15, shot at close range in their car on the way for a family vacation in the north. When all we want is impossible, how can anyone respond to such a loss? The grieving husband and father, Rabbi Leo D., British-born and having served as a rabbi in England before returning to Israel with his family, spoke about how in the midst of his horrific loss, he pleaded to everyone listening at the funeral and then afterwards. He said this, "Now is the time to make a commitment to make our world better, to remember the memory of his wife and his daughters who dedicated their lives to helping others. Now is the time to build up others and not to destroy them." He asked for the world to commemorate their loss and remember them with what he called D's Day, in the name of the D family, to post a photo of an Israeli flag in support of Israel, and also to pledge to live one day committed to the value of the letter D, to distinguish between love and hate, to be dedicated, to be devoted, to ensure dignity to all, to build and not to destroy, to live the letter D. He said that he will now devote his life and that of his 3 surviving children, dedicated to carrying on the values that Lucy, Maya, and Rena instilled in him. And in that way, it's possible for them to still be alive in this world. In his grief, Rabbi Leo D. challenged us to find our D. How will we respond to a world of brokenness? How will we respond to loss and grief? What will be our D? In commemoration of D's Day, I will find my D as Dayenu, to appreciate, to live with gratitude for every moment and every day. We only recite Dayenu at the end of the Magid section of our Haggadah, when our ancestors have already crossed the sea to safety. At that point, they could look back at all the people, thanking them for helping them get to that point in their lives, to safety. Perhaps that's why we recite Yizkor not on the first day of Pesach, but today, on this day of improbability and possibility, on this last day of Pesach, when we can think about all those who made us who we are, those who guided us on our path, those who made our lives what they are, who pushed us, who taught us, who gave to us, who loved us, to look back on their contributions to make us who we are, recognize that what was only possible was because of their support, their love, and their insistence. They made the impossible possible, Dayenu, and that is enough. To draw strength from their memories, their lives, and the lessons that remain a lasting inspiration. But we don't recite Yizkor alone. We gather here together in our Moskowitz sanctuary, and those joining us online, so that we can carry on their legacies together. We can be inspired together, because those who are no longer here made us who we are. They strengthen us. They lift us out of difficulty. They help us make the impossible possible. When we recite Yizkor, we are making a pledge that we will continue to live our lives dedicated to their ideals, that we will continue where they left off, promising to carry on their legacy. So, this last day of Pesach, what is your D? What will you dig into? What connections will you deepen? How will you drive forward? How will you make the impossible possible? How will you make our world better? How will you devote your lives to carry on those that we remember in just a few moments? How will you dedicate your lives to the D's in your life and the D's that are no more, so that we can make each and every day better and make the impossible possible? Chag Sameach. In a moment,